Look at that leaf in the trash bin right now, covered in spots, turning yellow, and curling at the edges. Most people see a biohazard. They see a threat to their perfect, sterile garden. You have been taught to bag it, seal it, and throw it away. But what if I told you that you just threw away a miracle? That diseased plant is not garbage. It is a concentrated biobattery of the exact nutrients your soil is currently starving for. Think about the last time you went to the garden center. You bought a heavy bag of organic fertilizer. It was processed, sterilized, and expensive. It was sold to you as the solution. In reality, that bag is an inferior, dead product compared to the liquid gold trapped inside a rotting, blighted tomato vine. Science shows that a dead plant can possess up to 20 times the enzymatic potential of anything you can buy in a plastic bag. While the store-bought powders offer a temporary chemical hit, this decaying matter offers a biological revolution. It is the fuel of life, hidden inside the mask of death. You are holding a power that Big AG wants to keep locked in the landfill to ensure you remain dependent on their synthetic systems for your survival. But there is a reason you have been conditioned to fear the rot. There is a deep, calculated reason this knowledge has been erased from the public consciousness, and it starts with exactly who profits most. The Sterile Industrial Complex is a silent coalition of Big AG chemical giants and even your local HOAs. For decades, they have worked in tandem to dismantle the natural laws of the earth. They have effectively criminalized the natural cycle of decay by labeling it as something unsightly, dangerous, or even a health hazard. They have spent billions on advertising to make you believe that a healthy garden must be a clean garden. In this manufactured reality, a brown leaf or a pile of rotting stalks is seen as a failure of management. This is not just a preference for aesthetics, it is a calculated economic strategy. The system profits over $50 billion annually by convincing you that your yard must be maintained as a sterile green desert. They want you to see a blank canvas that requires constant expensive inputs. If you understood how to harness the massive biological power of dead and diseased biomass, you would never buy another bag of synthetic NPK again. You would be free from the shelf. Instead, you are being kept in a state of synthetic dependency, trapped in a feedback loop where you must pay for the very nutrients you are currently throwing in the trash. They have replaced the ancient wisdom of the soil with the quarterly earnings reports of the laboratory. They do not want you to have a resilient, self-sustaining ecosystem because a self-sufficient person is someone they can no longer control or tax. This conspiracy of silence ensures that the wealth of the earth remains hidden in plain sight, disguised as waste. Every time you bag up your garden clippings and send them to a landfill, you are surrendering your food sovereignty to those who view your land as a revenue stream rather than a life-sustaining resource. They have built a wall of fear between you and the natural processes that once allowed humanity to thrive without their help. Why are they so terrified of a little mildew? Because it represents the ultimate threat to their bottom line, your total biological independence and freedom. The hidden secret that the establishment is terrified you will discover is a process known as pathogenic inoculation. While the chemical companies want you to believe that a blighted leaf is a death sentence for your entire crop, the reality is far more revolutionary. These diseased plants are actually nature's version of a vaccine. They carry the blueprint of the attack and the biological signature of the response. When you learn to reincorporate these specific materials back into your land through specific shadow methods, you are not spreading destruction. You are teaching your future crops exactly how to fight. You are building a super garden that functions through a system of nature's rebellion. This process allows your soil to develop a sophisticated memory of every threat it has ever faced. By recycling the very pathogens that Big Pharma wants to sell you expensive pesticides to kill, you are creating a miracle shortcut to total immunity. This is why the knowledge has been suppressed. If your garden is naturally immune to fungus, blight, and pests because it has already been inoculated by the rot, you no longer need the chemical crutch that the system provides. You become a threat to their control because you have achieved a level of resilience that cannot be bought in a store. This is the ultimate form of independence. You are using the system's own biological weapons to forge an ecosystem that is indestructible. By turning the rot into a resource, you are bypassing the need for synthetic intervention and reclaiming the sovereignty of your soil. This secret has been kept hidden away from you to ensure that you stay locked on the treadmill of endless consumption and fear. It sounds like heresy, but when we look at the molecular data, The forbidden truth becomes undeniable. To understand why this information is kept under lock and key, we must look at the science of suppressed data. When a plant begins to rot or succumb to disease, it undergoes a radical transformation at the molecular level. It is not simply breaking down, it is concentrating its defensive arsenal. Analysis reveals that a diseased plant often contains quadruple defensive phytoalexins than a healthy one. These phytoalexins are the localized immune system of the earth itself. They are powerful antimicrobial and antifungal compounds produced by the plant in a desperate bid to survive. When you discard a blighted vine, you are throwing away a concentrated dose of the very medicine your garden needs to build its own internal defenses. Furthermore, the process of decay triggers the release of siderophores. These are specialized molecules that act as biological magnets specifically designed to scavenge iron and other essential minerals from the environment and deliver them directly to living cells. In a sterile garden, these minerals remain locked away and inaccessible. But in a garden that embraces the rot, these siderophores work around the clock to ensure your crops are never nutrient deficient. This process is facilitated by a sprawling underground network of mycorrhizal hyphae. These microscopic fungal threads act as the internet of the soil, connecting every plant in a vast communication web. When you introduce a diseased plant back into the system, the hyphae transmit the biochemical signature of that disease across the entire network. This effectively warns every other plant to ramp up its own production of defensive proteins before the pathogen arrives. This is not just theory, it is biological reality. When we compare the amino acid profile of a naturally decaying plant to the most expensive synthetic bloom boosters on the market, the difference is staggering. Most store-bought supplements are crude mixtures of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium salts. They offer a temporary growth spurt but do nothing for the long-term health of the ecosystem. The decaying plant, on the other hand, provides a complex spectrum of organic acids and bioavailable proteins that synthetic products simply cannot replicate. These dead plants are dense with L-tryptophan and glutamic acid, which are the building blocks of plant hormones that govern fruit size and nutrient density. By using what you were told to hate, you are accessing a level of plant nutrition that makes commercial products look like colored water. You are essentially creating a custom-tailored high-performance fuel for your garden for zero cost. This level of biochemical efficiency is something the mainstream community rarely discusses because there is no way to patent a rotting leaf or a dead branch. If you knew that your waste was actually a goldmine of fertility, you would stop being a customer. You would break the chains of the corporate supply line and reclaim the biological heritage of the land. This isn't just chemistry, it's a financial threat to the trillion-dollar supplement industry that currently rules the global market now. The global corporate machine relies on your ignorance to maintain its absolute control over the food chain. We must pull back the curtain on the massive waste management scam that is currently operating in almost every major city. Every week you place your green waste on the curb for free. The system then uses your tax dollars to haul away this biological miracle. They take your nutrient-dense plants and diseased vines to industrial facilities where they process them into a low-grade generic mulch. Then, in a display of ultimate irony, they package that same material back up and sell it to you at a massive markup. They are literal control agents of your nutrient cycle, standing between you and the fertility of your own land. This is a brilliant and predatory system designed to make you pay for things you already own. If you do not master this simple tip and keep your biological wealth on your own property, you are effectively paying a stupidity tax to corporations that actively hate your independence. They want you to believe that you are doing something good for the environment by giving away your resources when in reality you are just fueling their profit margins. This goes deeper than just money, it is about the total suppression of self-reliance. In many areas, this has been taken a step further through the use of legal force. Many homeowners associations and local ordinances have made the act of in situ composting or keeping dead plants on your property essentially illegal. They use the excuse of standardized aesthetics and health codes to ensure your yard looks like a controlled and sterile environment. By making natural decay a violation of the rules, they have criminalized the very process that creates life. This ensures that you have no choice but to participate in their commercial ecosystem. They have created a legal and economic trap that keeps you tethered to the store shelves and the chemical plants. They are terrified of what happens when individuals stop asking for permission to grow their own food. This entire structure is built on the fear that you might one day realize that everything you need is already right in front of you. You are being scammed out of your wealth and your health simultaneously by a system that views your autonomy as a direct threat to its existence. Our ancestors did not have a waste management department to tell them what was valuable. They had a secret that allowed them to survive the harshest famines in history by utilizing the very things that you are now told to destroy and discard for their profit and their endless corporate expansion. The historical record has been scrubbed of the vital evidence of human survival to ensure we remain blind to our own power. This is the Great Erasure, a removal of ancestral knowledge that once allowed entire civilizations to flourish in environments that should have been uninhabitable. Consider the terra preta of the Amazon basin. For centuries, scientists were baffled by these massive stretches of deep black earth that remain the most fertile soil on the planet. Modern investigative archaeology has finally revealed the secret that the establishment tried to ignore. This black earth was not a natural occurrence but a deliberate creation made from what we would today call trash and disease. Ancient peoples combined charcoal with bones, food scraps, and blighted plant matter to create a biological furnace that actually grew more fertile over time. They did not see waste, they saw the building blocks of a miracle. The shift away from this wisdom was not an accident of progress. It was an intentional pivot orchestrated during the Victorian era. Under the guise of sanitation laws, the ruling class began to disconnect humans from the natural cycle of decay. While these laws were sold to the public as a necessary step for public health, they served a much darker secondary purpose. They sanitized the landscape and moved the production of fertility away from the home and into the hands of a centralized authority. This was the first step in preparing the global population for the industrial food era. By labeling the natural reuse of biological matter as primitive or unsanitary, they forced the population to look toward the newly emerging chemical industries for their survival. They turned our ancestors from masters of the soil into dependent consumers of industrial products. This manufactured disconnection is why most people today feel an instinctive disgust when they see a rotting plant instead of a deep sense of strategic opportunity. The history of our ability to thrive without the state was deleted to ensure that we would forget how to be self-sufficient in an age of crisis. They want you to believe that you are the first generation to understand science, when in reality you are the first generation to be completely divorced from it. They deleted this history so you would forget how to be self-sufficient. But I am going to show you how to take it back now discreetly. Now we move into the actual mechanics of the practical rebellion. If you want to stop being a victim of the corporate cycle, you must master the forbidden techniques of the shadow trench. This is not the surface-level composting you see in glossy magazines. A shadow trench involves digging at least 2 feet down into the dormant areas of your garden. Here you deposit the most diseased and blighted material you have. By burying it this deep, you are ensuring that the pathogens cannot reach the surface to infect your current living leaves, but you are placing them exactly where the deep root systems and fungal networks will find them. This is biological micro-dosing. As the plant matter breaks down in the anaerobic environment of the deep soil, it slowly releases its chemical signals. This acts as a vaccination for the soil for the following season. When the next generation of roots grows down into that trench, they are exposed to the remnants of the blight and they trigger an immediate systemic acquired resistance. This is how you build a garden that stands as a fortress against the very diseases that decimate your neighbors. The bury deep method also serves a strategic purpose in our era of overregulation. The bury deep method allows you to hide your miracle fertilizer from the prying eyes of the system. While your local HOA might fine you for a traditional compost pile, they cannot see the biological gold you are banking beneath the surface. You are literally building wealth in a secret underground vault. If you are dealing with particularly aggressive pathogens, you can use a solarization wrap before burial to temper the material, but the key is never to let those nutrients leave your property. You are harvesting the defensive intelligence of the plant. This intelligence is the secret to a high-yield garden that requires no outside intervention. You are creating a closed-loop system that is invisible to the authorities and immune to the market. By utilizing the very rot that others fear, you are securing your family's future in a world where food is becoming a tool of mass control and absolute synthetic dependency. This is why you need to master these hidden ways of the land to thrive outside their grasp. This is your only insurance policy against a broken and failing global food supply chain. We must discuss the strategic utility of this knowledge within the context of a total collapse scenario. When the trucks stop moving and the global supply chains finally snap for good, big AG fertilizers will disappear instantly. Those who followed the mainstream advice and burned their diseased plants or sent their green waste away will find themselves standing over sterile dirt with no way to jumpstart the life cycle. They will starve because they destroyed their only source of biological fertility in a desperate attempt to follow the rules of a dead system. Meanwhile, the elite are already several steps ahead of you. They are currently building massive closed-loop estates where every single gram of organic matter is repurposed and recycled. They know the secret that the soil is the only true currency that will hold its value when the financial markets crumble. While they enjoy total independence and nutritional security behind their gates, you will be standing in a breadline waiting for a handout from the people who engineered your dependency. Understanding the power of the rot is not just about growing better tomatoes, it is about surviving the transition to a world without industrial safety nets. This knowledge is your ultimate defensive weapon against a system designed to keep you hungry and compliant. You have the chance to secure your family's future right now by embracing the forbidden truth. The choice is simple: be a consumer of their lies or a producer of your own miracles. The system wants this video suppressed because they do not want the forbidden knowledge of the soil to go viral. They depend on your ignorance to maintain their monopoly on your survival. By subscribing now, you join the resistance and gain access to the truths they are trying to erase from history. Share this video with at least one person who still believes the dangerous lie that dead means useless. Help them break the cycle of synthetic dependency before it is too late. Your independence is the only thing they cannot take from you. Stay independent. Stay sovereign. Stay rebellious.